Hello, everyone. This is Deborah Richardson, and today I am putting the AP in Happy, where accounts payable teams are empowered to protect the vendor master file from fraud. This podcast will give a voice to accounts payable team members by talking about the growing reality of cyber attacks in their world and which vendor setup and vendor management techniques they can apply to protect the vendor master file from fraud. Need training? Visit the Vendor Process Training Center to enroll in your choice of weekly live and on demand training sessions. Plus, get access to vendor setup form templates and reference tools that will help you and your team to reduce the potential for fraud, compliance fines, and just overall bad vendor data. So, sign up for a free account to get access to free training sessions, vendor process FAQs, and a resource library with information you need to manage your vendor master file. Visit training.debrarrichardson.com today. The link will be in the show notes. This fraud prevention strategy appeared in a 1982 film with Robert Deniro and still works today to avoid deep fakes that lead to B2B payment fraud. Keep listening. Welcome to episode 380, a fraud prevention strategy from a 1982 film to avoid deepfakes. So I probably never talked about it before, but one of my favorite things to do is go to the movies. And when I say go to the movies, I mean I like popcorn, no butter though, but I like popcorn. I have my favorite movie place that has the best popcorn in the world. And I go there on Tuesdays because movies are only $5 and you get a free medium popcorn, but you can upgrade that to a large popcorn for $1 or a bucket of popcorn for $2.25. And so I go to the movies a lot. But this movie I happened to see streaming, and I don't remember which streaming service I saw it on or where it's at now. I probably should have looked that up, but you can look it up because this movie is called The King of Comedy. It was released in 1982. Oh, you know what? It says it was released in US in 1983. But anyway, it was a movie with Robert De Niro and Jerry Lewis, and Robert De Niro was playing a comic that kidnapped Jerry Lewis's late night talk show host guy that he was portraying, but he kidnaps him in order to get a spot on the show. And so this was also directed by Martin Scorsese, which, that was kind of early in his career. I don't know if that was before Scarface or not. But anyway, I was watching the movie and, I'm doing other things, watching a movie, it's on in the background. And all of a sudden, after he was kidnapped and Robert De Niro's character took him back to his place, right, where he was going to hold him hostage, Jerry Lewis called into the show to let them know that he was kidnapped and he was all right. But what he did when he called so that the people that answered the phone, whoever his folks were, when they picked up, he had a four-digit number, and I forget what the number is, but he had a four-digit number that was prearranged that he would say in case he was ever kidnapped so that they would know it was him. And this was in 1982. So fast forward to last week and yesterday, where last week I was listening to or watching a recording of a webinar from a cybersecurity company, and they were talking about, these departments, accounts payable, right? these departments, CEOs, anyone, they need to have a safe word. And I thought, oh, well, that's pretty good, right? Because actually, what they called it was an out of protocol safe word. So if, right, I always say make sure you have where you follow your internal process for, let's say, bank changes or urgent payments. Don't let the leadership, CEO, CFO, right, request an urgent payment because that's out of protocol. That should not be done. And it could be a way that a fraudster gets in and gets away with payment fraud. And so, but those scenarios do come up. And so what do you do? And what this webinar said was to have a safe word for out of protocol requests. And I thought that was a great idea. And not only was it a safe word for out of protocol requests, but this person also recommended you have a safe word between departments, right? Within departments and then also between departments. So things like, and I know we've all heard about the $35 million payment fraud that was successful because a leadership person contacted their controller or finance person who, right, they knew each other, but contacted them and asked them to transfer, make a series of transfers that equaled $35 million. And again, they knew each other, they were familiar with each other, and still the deep fake audio, which it turned out to be, still worked. And even though that wasn't reported, I don't think it was reported until 2023, but it actually happened in 2020. So you know how old, right, the technology back then was, and it still worked. But we're talking 2026 now, and it's just hard to tell who is who. You can't trust what you hear on the phone. You can't trust that it is the actual person. And I saw another statement that says the familiar is just no longer good enough. And so, had they had, right, that safe word, then that $35 million fraud may not have happened. Now, you might be thinking, those of you that have been listening to my podcast for a while, but Deborah, you have authentication, right? You always talk about that. And I do. I talk about authenticating, right? Asking 2 to 3 identifying questions to your vendor or to your internal team members when communicating to verify that they are who they say they are. But you know what? A safe word works too. And again, I keep hearing about it. So I just talked about it was on a webinar that I listened to last week. And then yesterday, I get an email because I am on the National Cybersecurity, which is like the StaySafeOnline.org folks. I'm on their email list. And so they emailed, right, the fact that they were talking about deep fakes. And I'm going to put a link to this page of theirs because they let you create your own deep fakes, right? Just to show how easy it is to do it. And they have even a voice challenge, right? So you can see if you can tell the difference between a real voice and an artificial one. And so they give you some pretty neat things, right, that you can check out. It would be really great if you want to use this for like one of your team meetings just to see how easy it is to be fooled by the voice. And if any of you have seen some of my webinars in the past, I don't know if I put it on my webinars. I have a deep fake training where uh, I talk about an experiment that I did where I recorded my voice and then I typed in, it was only 2 steps. I recorded my voice, I typed in what I wanted to say, and it sounded just like me. Now, it was free software, so that could be the reason why, but it did have some breaks and pauses, right, that were really unnatural. So you could tell. But software is always getting the AI technology and software is always getting better. And plus, I was using a free version, so some of these versions, some of the software that's out here now, I would not be surprised if you could not tell. So anyway, I get this email from Stay Safe Online or National Cybersecurity Alliance, and it takes me to staysafeonline.org to their page where you can just look at and test out some of these deepfake audios. And so what it has at the bottom, as you scroll down, of course, is safe words. And you can use safe words with professional or even with your family so that you or your grandparents or your mom and dad or whatever do not get uh, uh, victimized by assuming or by thinking that, right, a phone call that they received is actually from, one of your siblings or you or maybe one of their grandkids. So a safe word would work for personal as well, but they talk about, again, safe words. And so their definition of it is a pre agreed code word or phrase that only you and your trusted group know. And so, second organization in a week's period that talks about safe words. And yes, it is along the lines of authentication. However, authentication is different because you have already identified in advance different words or elements that you're going to ask for to verify that someone is who they say they are. And so this would be in the case of if you don't have a safe word, or maybe if you did have a safe word and they gave it to you and something's still suspicious, you can still do authentication. But a safe word would be great as well. And maybe you can use them both, as I just talked about. And so I really like the fact that safe words are out there. And I like it that you can have a safe word between departments and within your departments just to verify that you did get or you are talking to your manager or your supervisor or your CEO or a leadership position or a coworker in a different department, and because they have asked you to make a change or to do something that might result in a fraudulent payment. And so I think it's very good to make sure that you can secure your financial transactions and your sensitive information using these safe words. Now, I will say here that also on the page, they talk about how to set up a safe word. And actually, now that I'm scrolling, you can even create your own deep fake, right, images or deep fake videos. So you have the opportunity to do that too. Again, this would be a great page to show in your next meeting. So anyway, let's talk about how to set up a safe word per staysafeonline.org. And so the first thing that they want you to do is make it unique. So avoid common words, avoid birthdays, avoid pet names. And again, it's safe word, but it can be a word or a phrase. And then the second one, and this is a big one, is keep it private, share it securely, never share it online. And I would say too, and it doesn't say it here, but I would say also to make sure you change it just in case somebody slips up. So that's the second thing is keep it private, and then the third thing is to use different words. So do not reuse words between groups. So every group should have their own word, and then also practice using it. So test the system regularly. Now, they also have lastly here is the some extra verification steps. And of course, it's always the callback. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I would say um, to make sure that you have a reinforced or enhanced process in place for making that call. Don't just let your team members make a call without a call script, without documenting what they have done. And so I'm going to put a link to the callback confirmation toolkit I think that's what I call it. I always call things names that are too long. But anyway, it comes with a process desktop procedures. So it has best practices already built in. It has a call log. It has a scripts for all types of scenarios, not just changing banking, but it also has scripts for when you have a vendor that was a check payment vendor that's now being converted to a bank account or ACH payment vendor. And yes, that does mean that I recommend you do phone calls when you add any banking, not just changing banking. And by the way, that will make you should make you NACHA compliant for their new fraud ACH monitoring rule. If you don't know anything about that, I'm going to pull a link to a free webinar where I explain it all and then give you three options to comply. And March 20th was phase one, depending on how many transactions you had. The next phase is everybody else, which is June 22nd. All right, so extra verification steps. I got a little off went squirreled on that one, but first one, they have three. First one, of course, is the callback using a trusted number, not the one they called from. But again, there are some other best practices and controls you can put into place. See the callback confirmation toolkit link in the show notes. And then number two is to ask personal questions. Use info excuse me, the real person would know. And then number three is to stay calm and verify. A safe word is your best defense against AI voice scams. Now, it doesn't just have to be voice scams, that would also work on a video too. So, you guys may remember that $25 million fraud that occurred because a finance person thought that multiple leadership team members were on a video call, and it turns out that they were all deep fake videos. And so a safe word would have worked with them or with that scenario as well. All right, so that's all I have for you today. I hope you got something out of it. And definitely make sure you check out the Stay Safe online.org page where again it's talking all about deep fakes. It has the voice challenge where you can see if you can tell between a human voice and an AI voice. You can also create your own deep fake as well, so make sure you check that out. Again, I'll have a link in the show notes. All right. So thanks, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the 380th episode of the Putting the AP in Happy podcast, where accounts payable teams are empowered to protect the vendor master file from fraud. Don't forget to check the show notes for the links mentioned in the podcast. And if you enjoyed this episode, consider subscribing and writing a review of my podcast on the platform that you use to listen. Stay happy.